episode of VROOM Videos. I'm Todd Muirhead from the VMware Performance team, and this is...
Chetan Kumar, also from the performance team, colleague of Todd.
Yes, we've worked together on lots of projects actually in the past, and today we're going to talk about this really cool project that Chetan worked on and I had a small part to play in about getting 1 million IOPS on a single ESX host. So Chetan, you've done a lot of storage performance testing, different tests, all kinds of things. Why do 1 million IOPS test?
Irrespective of the tests that I do, people have one common question with every vSphere release, right? They want to know whether the applications they are running, can that application be supported on vSphere? And the envelope for the IOPS generated by or supported by vSphere keeps increasing with every release. Right. Initially it was 100,000 IOPS, then came the 300,000 IOPS. Then people started asking, now I have this mission critical application. Can that be virtualized? Can vSphere support the IOs that
Right.
is supported, that is generated by that application?
I think it's crazy because 1 million IOPS is, I mean, I don't know of really any applications that really need 1 million IOPS. I mean,
I agree with you, but what we wanted to do this time was put an end to this question once for all. 1 million IOPS can we achieve through one vSphere host? And that's what we did. That's what I worked with our partner EMC. We got one giant storage array, VMax.
right.
We installed vSphere on one physical host, connected the two, and achieved 1 million IOPS.
So let's talk about some of the details. So you said a giant VMax, VMax. I'm sorry, I was on the wrong time for a second. VMax array. So what do you mean by giant? I mean, how big was it?
This VMax array was configured to its fullest, meaning that's the max you can get a VMax from EMC.
Right.
It had, if I'm not mistaken, 128 physical cores, about 300 spindles, and the array was capable of generating about 1.5 million IOPS. This array was connected to the vSphere host. Now the question was, can vSphere drive above 1 million with this array? We knew array could do it, but
Right.
we were not sure if the vSphere host could do it.
Just a single host. I mean, that's important, right? So normally you're going to have, I mean, a whole
bunch of hosts.
many hosts attached to an array like this. Well, this is just one host.
One host.
And we wanted to show that you could cram all these IOPS through a single ESX host.
Exactly.
And so, while you're able to push these 1 million IOPS through, skeptics might say, well, that's great, but how long did it take to each of these to respond? Were we high latency, or what was the...
Very valid question. In fact, when we did the test, we had the same question. Because of the latency, can the number of IOPS supported by vSphere come down? So, in essence, this VMax array has a giant cache too. So the array we got had about 512 gigabytes. The virtual disk size, the total virtual disk size we were using for our tests was about 330, 340 gigabytes, meaning most or almost all of the virtual disk was cached in the storage area. Yeah. With this, one would expect to see a latency which is near a millisecond. And when we drove 1 million IOPS from vSphere, we in fact saw latencies just above 1 millisecond,
which is incredibly low.
Which is incredibly low,
especially for such a large workload. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, so typical people running their databases or Exchange or whatnot, you're going to see your latencies not on this same array, but on the types of array they're using, more like around 10 milliseconds, 8 milliseconds. So that would be a good performing system.
Yeah, in fact, the latencies recommended by application vendors are about to keep the latency below 10 milliseconds. Right. So typically, customers would see higher latency, and they wouldn't need about 1 million IOPS coming from the same host. But this will put an end to the question that
right. So
can vSphere support that many IOPS coming from all the VMs that are running on a single host?
Which is the point, right? So the point
exactly.
is to hopefully eliminate forever, at least for this release, the question of can ESX support the number of IOPS I need to? And so with 1 million, we should have no problem.
Exactly, and this project also tells people that now if I have only one VM, can that one VM support a high number of IOPS. And in fact, we showed that a single VM, we may call it as a mini monster VM, can support up to 300,000 IOPS, which is what we did last time with the last vSphere release. There we were showing a single vSphere host could do 300,000 IOPS, but this time we showed one VM can do 300,000 IOPS, which is also pretty cool.
Which was cool. So yeah, so to get the actual million, you had more than one VM. There was, I don't know,
We had 6 VMs.
6 or 6, but but then you went back and did individual VM tests and got 300,000 IOPS.
Exactly.
So anyway, I think the result is really cool. And so the very small part that I played in this was that. So this is the funny story: is that so I had ordered a couple of really nice hosts
It's true.
to use for my testing, and then like a week before they're supposed to arrive, I get an email from Chetan saying, "Hey, have you gotten those servers in yet? Because we need to borrow them." And I was like, "Well, they're going to be here soon." And then once I found out that this was a pretty important project and they weren't going to use the servers very long, I was convinced or persuaded to let them use my servers.
In fact, you should also tell them that we messed up your system. Remember?
Yeah, well, I was going to let you off the hook, yeah. So I got my system back and the memory wasn't right, but we got it all fixed now, and I'm actually using it for some other tests.
Hey,
now,
that was not vSphere, by the way. It was the physical hardware
the physical memory
that got messed up.
Yeah, between they had taken the memory out and reconfigured it for the test, and when they put it back in, they didn't put the right memory in. So it's just a human mistake. But that was my small part, and it all worked out
critical
great.
part.
Wow. Yeah.
No host.
It's hard to do
No
it
million IOPS,
without the hardware. So anyway, there's some great information out. There's a blog post out on this.
There is
right?
a blog post, there is a white paper, and there is also a mention of this by Steve Herrod, our CTO, in the VMworld 2011 keynote.
Yeah, so there's more information if you want to go out and get the details. But now you're armed. You can go tell your friends. Million IOPS is entirely possible on vSphere 5.
Remember this: single host, single array, 1 million IOPS.
That's right. All right, thanks, Chetan.
Thank you, Todd.